Hi, welcome to Go Tell Mom. I'm Dianna Kelly, and I've been momming for several decades, including tending my fur babies, kids I gave birth to, kids I mentored as a broadcaster and college instructor, my kids' friends, and my friends. I'm not a psychologist or doctor, but I do know how to dig up advice from those who are, and that's what I'll share with you. If you have something to share with me, remark, comment, question, please comment below. Is it ever easy to see your kids grapple with disappointment? I remember as a kid, my dad's company would rent out an amusement park for families one day a year. I wasn't a particularly big fan of fast rides, but I loved the family outing and the train rides. One summer, we had a big thunderstorm the morning we were supposed to go on the company outing, and my brother and my sister and I were really bummed out when we got the news that we wouldn't be able to go. Mom and Dad handled it with an all-day Monopoly game and a picnic on our screen porch. It poured on the other side of the screen, and there were bolts of lightning darting across the sky, but we had a great time. In fact, to this day, I loved watching thunderstorms from a covered porch. Mom even popped popcorn, which of course we proceeded to throw at each other during the game when we landed on each other's property. Another time there was an outdoor birthday party that we were supposed to go to, and we were looking forward to riding the pony and having fun with our friends, and once again it got rained out. So again, Mom came to the rescue. She came up with an idea of sitting in front of the fireplace and drinking hot chocolate and having our popcorn again. Popcorn seemed to be a solution for Mom for a lot of things, and we all felt better afterwards. That was a minor disappointment. The major one was earlier when Dad had first gotten a new job in a new state and we had to move. My sister was still a toddler then, so she wasn't as bummed out. And my brother made a new best friend pretty quickly in our new town. But I was devastated leaving my friends behind. I cried all day after we moved in. My parents made friends with the family up the street, and I ended up making friends with one of the girls my age. But it's never the same. Child Mind Institute says it's important for parents to be compassionate when your kid is hit with a letdown. You may not be able to fix the situation to your kid's satisfaction, but you can listen and you can acknowledge their frustration and disappointment. Clinical social worker Carrie Worley says drilling down on the specifics of what your child is most disappointed about is helpful. And don't judge their reactions. Reassure them that you're proud of them for dealing with the loss of things that were important to them. Let them know that eventually their current situation will change, and there's still a lot to look forward to. Ask them what helps them most to get used to the disappointment, and share your own coping skills. CenterVision.com suggests coming up with a worksheet for dealing with disappointments and have the kids write some of their ideas down for digging out of it, and then compare those ideas. Disappointment is a natural and inevitable part of life, EverydaySpeech.com points out. By understanding how to refocus their minds when feeling disappointed, our kids can develop resilience and adapt to challenges more effectively. One of the things they suggest doing is having the child create a disappointment balloon in their head and imagine they're holding it. The balloon represents their disappointment. They take a deep breath, imagining disappointment filling up the balloon, and then ask them to imagine releasing the balloon in the sky, watching it float away, and of course, having them exhale at the same time. Imagine how it feels letting go of it. An exercise like that gives the kid a feeling of a little more control over their emotions. Then you can jump into something that makes them feel better about where they're at. Mind you, this works better when you're dealing with younger kids. What happens when they're older? When your kid doesn't make the team, but their best friend does. Happened to me in my senior year in high school. My mom pointed out to me that I really didn't have time to learn all the drills since I was going to be running the yearbook and doing half a dozen other things to make my college applications look good. My heart still hurt, but I understood the practicality of it. I made new friends with my new project, and Mom sure made sure they all came over to the house after school to work on it. She even made them whoopie pies. She was supportive, but she wasn't about to let me wallow. As she put it, laugh and the world laughs with you, but cry and baby, you cry alone. In other words, suck it up, Buttercup. Other kids wish they had your advantages. When you reach adulthood, it can get harder for parents. You can't fix the world for your kids. And honestly, you shouldn't try. Your grown-up kids apply for jobs they don't get, have heartbreaks, have fights with their best friend. I made the mistake a couple of times of trying to share my look for the bright side attitude with my daughter after a broken engagement, and she said she didn't want to be told what to do, even though she knew I loved her. Sometimes you have to let your kids figure out their own way while making them understand that you empathize and that you're there for them. Now, sharing our perspective on helping our kids get through disappointments is my friend and colleague, Sheri Waltz. Sheri, dealing with heartbreak is so hard for kids. Even if I didn't get the toy I wanted for Christmas, or I didn't get invited to a kid's birthday party or something like that. How did you deal with it with your kids?
So when they were younger, we talked a lot about not always getting what you wanted.
Yeah.
So we had lots of conversations about that and the appropriateness of responding, and things like at a birthday party when it's not your birthday.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's really difficult for kids, and and walking through appropriate responses for things like that, and not trying to hog the spotlight and all.
Yeah, not everybody gets presents at a birthday party, especially if it's not your birthday. I remember trying to explain that to my kids when they were toddlers.
But it certainly has changed as they've gotten older.
Yeah. Yeah, kids at some point develop learning to restrain your emotions and sort them out filter, if you will.
Yeah.
But it is hard, especially as they're growing, to be able to get them through something and say, look, it's not your turn. Your birthday's in this month. And then everybody there will be giving you presents, or, gee, it's raining. I know we were planning on going to the park, but we'll just have to make it another time. It's hard to be able to logic them out of their feelings of disappointment, especially when they're young and they haven't faced all that many disappointments, or they don't understand the difference between a big disappointment and a small disappointment. Was there a particular tactic you would use?
I don't know. Right now, my mind is going to my current situation with my daughter. She is older, of course. She's not a kid anymore. And actually, she really just started doing some therapy, and that has been a real help to really seek some outside guidance, because certainly mom doesn't always know what's going on.
Of course not. Mom never knows exactly what my heart is feeling.
And so that's been really nice to be able to lean on, on some outside professional help to help guide her through some just really tough adjustments that she's having in her life right now.
Yeah.
And that's been really nice.
Yeah, having a disinterested third party who doesn't have skin in the game is probably a good idea, because we as parents are a little too close to whatever it is they're going through.
I'm trying to think about anything specific when they were kids. I'm not a super emotional person. And so I definitely think that I probably for all the wrong reasons, which is why my daughter probably is now going to therapy. I probably taught either directly through conversation or just through modeling that you stuff it down, you don't address it, and then you just get what you want a different day, and just to move on and just be like, oh, okay, well, we're not doing that today. We'll just do it another day. I don't remember when they were quite little any specific conversations. I don't know. Did you have any specific ones?
Well, I remember when I was young, we we used to once a year go out to the company picnic, and it was at an amusement park. So it was really super cool. Yeah. My dad worked for a defense contractor, so they had a few bucks.
Yeah.
But, and there was one Saturday when it poured, and we were so bummed out, and you've got 3 bummed out kids, and not a happy time at home, except for mom popped up some popcorn. We did board games. We sat in front of the fireplace. She made it, isn't this cozy event? Had hot chocolate,
Right.
It was all something to make us feel like the day was special. It was just special in a different way, and I think if you turn things around so that whatever that disappointment is, you've got something to supplant it with that is just different. And it makes you think, well, gee, if I don't get exactly what I want, sometimes I get what you need.
Yes.
To quote the Rolling Stones.
Yes.
And I think that was really helpful growing up. And I would try to do that in my head, even if you had something like you were up for the cheerleading squad and I didn't make it my senior year. And mom would sit me down and say, look, you're running the yearbook. You're still writing for the newspaper that you were editor for. You're doing this, that, and the other thing. When did you think you were going to have time to be able to go to practices and do all of this stuff? And I'm like, yeah, good point there.
Yeah.
So you try to figure out how to make whatever the disappointment was, something logical in your head, and like, of course that happened, so that, but it doesn't know. Logic is not always
it doesn't alleviate the sting.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
The sting in the heart. It doesn't. But I definitely have taught my kids to focus on other things, right?
Yeah.
So when something doesn't happen their way,
Yeah.
to then just move on and to think about something else. But I think that I struggled as a parent to teach them how to process that disappointment in a way that really addressed it. And so I think that was definitely a shortcoming on me, and just because of my personality and just the way that I grew up. Because my parents, I don't ever remember them doing anything like that with us. I don't know, but they probably did. But I don't remember it.
Yeah.
And so I certainly think that my kids just learned how to move on, but not necessarily to walk through the pain and to be okay with the pain and be, and do that. Whereas I think I taught them just to be like, okay, close the door, move on.
Yeah.
Next activity, next thing.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of going through that right now with my daughter, because she and her former fiance now broke up. And it's just like, okay, you need to think about how terrific your life is going to be 2 months down the road. And she's like, I can't really do it that way. I have to. And she's like, you've got to let me mourn. I'm like, okay, you can mourn. But also know that you are a strong, confident woman who has her life before her.
Yeah.
And and the world has not ended just because of a breakup. And kids go through that in high school, they go through it in college, and it's on both sides,
Yes.
Guys as well as girls. It's hard. I don't think it's even gender specific as to how that you need to help them cope with whatever their disappointment is, and when it comes to matters of the heart.
Yes, yes, definitely. I do remember when my older daughter had her first breakup. That was a difficult, traumatizing experience for everybody involved. As they kind of go through that range of emotions and all of those things. And I think oftentimes as the parent or just the adult in the situation, it just takes time.
Yeah.
And there is no shortcut, and there is no patch, and there is nothing that you can do necessarily for that. It is the progress of time that helps move forward.
Yeah.
And that is just hard from the parent standpoint, because you're on the sidelines, really.
Yeah.
Again, you can talk about their good qualities and talk about what life is like, but that doesn't move them through that pain.
Yeah, they're still going to have the pain
any faster.
Yeah.
And it still just takes time.
Mm-hmm. But if you do try to make them see that there's light at the end of the tunnel and it's not an oncoming train, they can, understand that yes, it hurts, but life is more than just hurt right now. So
yeah,
and that's tough. That really is to get them to see that, no matter what their age is.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
even adults, going through divorce or loss or anything, all of those things, they are really traumatizing to the individuals. And it's a difficult process to go through, and it's a lot of disappointment. And I like your daughter's saying about, let her mourn for that, because I do. I think sometimes we do have to mourn for what we thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Versus what is happening, whether that's because of a terminated relationship, or even if it was just you didn't get the job promotion or whatever that is. Right. I think you do.
Or you didn't get the job.
Yeah, or just the job itself. Yeah. You do have to sometimes just go through those steps of mourning and be like, it's not. Yeah, I'm not going to get it, and I got to go through that and understand it.
Yeah. It's not always easy, and it's not always something that you as a parent want to have to go through, because it's like, oh, she's been crying for, the last 3 nights or whatever. Right. And what can I do? And it's just, well, you got to let her go through it.
Yeah.
And if she happens to have her favorite creamer in the fridge the next morning for her, it's like, you do something to give them like small benefits there. At least that's what I did. And that's what my mom did. She was, anytime we get a disappointment, she would always try to figure out, okay, what makes you happy? And let's focus on that.
Yes.
Sun, and I hate using all of these cliches, but the sun will come out tomorrow.
Yes.
I remember her saying to me once, because at one point in my life, I think all kids go through a morose period of where nothing's right and nothing. And she's like, honey, there's just one of these truths in life. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry and baby, you cry by yourself. And she's right. I mean, to a certain extent, it's like nobody wants to watch you wallow in pain.
No, definitely not. And I think as a parent, it's really difficult because you want to fix it. You want your kids to be happy.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that. That's why I'm happy that one of my children is, doing therapy. When she was talking about it, I was like, you should really go. I said, I think this would be fantastic for you.
Yeah.
I think it would give you a sounding board of someone to talk to.
And kids need that.
I do. I think
adults need that.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. And I just told her I thought it would be really good for her to do that.
And a disinterested party that can look at or listen to you and let you process things without having a particular side or stand or whatever. Exactly. They're like, okay, what's making you feel this way?
Exactly. So she's only been doing it for 3 weeks. So I don't know. I told her, so I don't know how long you have to go. I don't know how any of it works. I said, but you just do it till you feel like it's made a difference. You'll know. I said, you'll know, and then you'll be able to move on. I said, but you just do it. But I always appreciate the younger generation. I feel like they are more open to tools and experiences.
And they don't treat it like, oh, you've got a stigma because you're using those tools.
Yes, exactly. And I think that they are way more open to a lot of the things that are out there,
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the best way to help these kids, our kids, get through, some kids can just power through it. Yeah. And it's like, okay, because this happened to me, and I grew, it's funny because as an adult, when I would get a setback, it would be, okay, so what did I learn from this and what opportunities are available to me since this door is closed? Yeah. It's like, I thought there were all of these different doors open, but that door's not the right one, clearly. So what door should I pick? Right. Gee, there are so many choices, and I kind of like to be able to guide my kids that way because then you're looking at things a little bit more positively and it makes them feel a little bit more positive. But then there's also the fear that I don't want to push them if they're not ready to go in that direction.
Right. I was going to say that's a timing thing too, because oftentimes when you're in the midst of the disappointment, you can't think beyond what is happening. You can't think beyond the pain, right? So that's all you have.
Yeah. And it's a delicate balance because you don't want them to feel like you're criticizing them when they're going through something that's really painful.
And so I do think there's a couple of interpersonal theories that that talk about the death and dying of a relationship and about mourning it and about going through what that looks like. And I think that you could probably apply that to probably any type of loss. It doesn't have to be within a relationship, but just providing a space for you to be disappointed and upset, and then providing a different time for there to be conversation about what you learned, about what you would do differently.
Well, we don't want our kids to feel pain. We don't like to see them feel pain. Sometimes that pain can help them learn, but they need to learn from it. They can't just keep doing the same thing. My mom let me burn my finger once on the top of a stove just so I'd know you don't touch the burner of the stove when it's hot. So you don't want them to make that mistake again and keep injuring themselves emotionally again. As my mother used to say, first time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me for letting you do that to me again. So they need to learn from whatever bad situations we come across in life.
I think a lot of times, often with just sports, I know a lot of times people, have negative impressions about what you learn through sports and all of that. But I think that sports often do a really good job with that, especially because, like oftentimes they're videotaping their games. And so when they lose the finals, then later they come back and they watch it and then they talk about what what they did incorrectly and how they could correct it. Granted, I know a lot of that is more behavioral. It's physical. It's what they're doing.
Think of all of those kids at the Olympics who did not win their meet or their match or whatever, but persevere, and they come back year after year after year because they don't give up because they didn't let themselves feel too defeated, or they used it.
I think that you could apply some of those strategies to just other things that are happening. Like, so you didn't get invited to the birthday party. Well, are you making friends? And how do we, how do you go about making friends? And are you inviting kids to do things? And whatever that looks like, right?
Is there some club you can join where you would be doing things that you enjoy and meeting people that enjoy them too?
Right, exactly. Those types of things. But of course, the day they get home and they didn't get the invitation is not the day to talk about that because that's the day that they feel really, bad about it. So I think circling back and spending time evaluating what happened is a good skill. I think that could help create a positive outcome going forward, right? So that when something bad happens, you give them the space to cry or mourn or whatever they want to do, right? Whatever makes sense to them. And then to take a look at it and strategically plan how to do something different.
Yeah.
Because you certainly don't want them to, if it was a mistake, to make the same mistake, right?
Yeah. And most of us actively avoid trying to make the same mistake twice. I think that also, as you said, time it heals. It does heal you. If you've got somebody there that is there and will be at your elbow and cares about your feelings and will be there when you're ready to open the next door, I think that helps as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And hopefully we won't be experiencing too many of these incidents in the future.
Hopefully not. It's hard. It definitely is hard to watch your kids be disappointed.
Yeah.
And to make it a teachable moment. In a way that they learn from. I think it's definitely one of the more challenging ones.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun to enjoy, to celebrate. Yeah. All of the fun things.
The flip side of that, though, is you wouldn't know what bright light is if you didn't see dark every once in a while.
That's true, too. That is definitely true.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheri. Hopefully we've given you something to chew on at home when it comes to helping your kids get through disappointments. I'm Dianna Kelly. She's Sheri Waltz. This is Go Tell Mom. Thank you again for joining us on this episode of Go Tell Mom. And if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or even something you'd like us to tackle on a future episode of the show, comment below, and we'll be back next time and maybe we can grapple together.